Day 72, entrepreneur. This is day 3 or chapter 3 of A Real San Francisco Story with Pets. This month is the 5-year anniversary of me writing my book. And again, this video I'm going to talk about chapter 3, which is actually called Eric Curry's Pets Part 2. But for all intents and purposes, it is a chapter where I talk about my identity, my life as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner. And I start with talking about tearing up all the strawberry plants out of my parents' backyard and going door to door. And then I did a lot of like Craigslist hustling when I was a kid. We weren't paid an allowance, and so that made me fine. And I didn't grow up in a super like rich family, so I found other ways to like make money. I'll talk about one of them in this video. So you know what I used to do? There is a place in Chinatown where you can buy quail for like $1.50 or $1.25. At least that's what they cost when I was a kid. And I used to flip them on Craigslist for like 10-20 bucks a piece. That was just one way I had of making money. Before iPhones came out, I used to like flip like iPods, electronics on there. Ooh, anyway, there you go. I just talked about 2 of my little side hustles. Anyway, chapter 3 of my book, which is again called Eric Curry's Pets Part 2, I also talk about starting my first business. So dropping out of UCLA during my sophomore year, starting my first business, Eric Curry's Pets, the pet care business that I have since sold. I didn't at the time think that I would have sold my business, but and then I talk about entering my first entrepreneurial competition. So the Falling Walls competition, while I was at UCLA, shortly after I dropped out, I participated in a Shark Tank style, not without all the Hollywood and extra effects, an entrepreneurial competition. That was pretty cool through the Falling Walls Foundation. Anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt from chapter 3 of my book, which is again called Eric Curry's Pets Part 2. And it really, I've already mentioned this, how all of this is rooted in my relationship with animals and how so much of my different parts of my life either like sprung from that, were taught from that, originated from there, etc. But in pet care, we have the unique distinction in that if money were no object, this is still what most of us would be doing. That cannot be said for very many other professions. Usually, there is some form of trade-off. I have a feeling I'll always be involved in pet care in some capacity. You couldn't keep me away from the animals if you tried. Even as I've explored other business opportunities, many of the most important business lessons I've learned in my life came through my pet business. So that's from chapter 3 of A Real San Francisco Story with Pets.